Welcome to the Two Girls and a Cup of Wellness podcast. I'm Marie. I'm a nurse practitioner committed to whole health care and helping my patients live vibrantly.
And I'm Crissy, a yogi, breast cancer thriver, author of For the Love of Jugs, and guide for the mind, body, heart, soul healing. Together, we will empower you with integrative tools and real conversations. So grab your cup and dive into wellness with us. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another Two Girls and a Cup of Wellness episode. My name is Crissy.
And my name is Marie.
And today we're so excited because we are going to be talking about the second brain. Can anybody guess what that is? As Marie's raising her hand, she's like the
gut.
The gut, yes.
Amazing stomach.
The gut brain and all things associated with it, from symptoms when it is out of balance and not performing correctly, the gut brain axis, some lymphatic love, and everything in between. So let's get started. Marie, what you got for us?
Okay. So we're going to talk a lot today about how the gut talks to us and how most of us don't listen, right? But it is so important that we learn to be more in tune with our bodies and listening to what the gut's telling us and to just slow down and take a minute. But I want to do, I guess, a little story. I'm going to do story.
Ooh, a story time. I
Close
like
your
this.
eyes.
Okay. Let me put my matcha tea that she made me. It's so delicious. But
So we're closing our eyes. And if you're driving, listeners, please don't. But imagine you're driving and it's, we're in Florida, but we're going to say it's icy. I always hated driving in icy weather, Massachusetts. So you're driving and you're being cautious, and all of a sudden a car is coming at you and they swerve into your lane. So what happens automatically?
yeah, right. You react.
You're going to react. And what part of your brain is doing that? The logical one that says, okay, let's think about this. Should I tap the brake? Should I swerve this way? Should I turn towards the
your
right?
reactive brain.
It's that, those primitive instincts, those flight or fight. We talk about medicine. So when that happens, your body goes into that mode of protection and safety, which we talked about in another episode. But also, your pupils dilate, your blood pressure shots from where it needs to be.
Temperature
like you're
changes.
running away from a tiger. Your hands get sweaty, and all these things are happening so that you can react quickly, so that you're out of danger. Now, have you ever been in a situation like that?
Sure.
Slams on the brakes in front of you, or any type of scary situation. You get that bolt of, it's almost like an electricity running through your body.
Yeah.
Right. So we have these centers. I'm not going to get too technical in your brain. They're your stress and your reactive centers, and it just releases all sorts of different things into us. So a lot of times after the situation, what do you feel?
You feel tired, you feel weak, maybe a
nauseous.
little nauseous, a little discombobulated,
Right.
just stomach feels like you're just like, like nauseous, like you said. Yeah.
Right. It actually slows the motility in our gut because all that blood shuts off. But those hormones or endocrine receptors or chemicals that are released really cause a lot of havoc in our system. And if you are a person that's dealing with chronic stress, that moment, a car accident right beforehand and like reaction, that's what happens when you're in chronic stress. And all these things have this domino effect, which eventually lead to inflammation and gut dysbiosis.
Yeah.
So it's really, really interesting. And afterwards you can feel so sick, and how you recover and how you resume from that is very important.
Right. So, I mean, I think kind of backtracking a little bit, coming back to, I'll just touch base on the nervous system in instances like that. We don't want to live at that heightened state of stress, of flight or fight. However, most people are walking around with their stress response levels and stress response like factors in their bodies just activated on all the time. Right. So if and when something like that happens, the body is now got to work overtime, or it can't really lean into some of the other resources because they're depleted and everything like that. And we'll talk about that kind of like in the lymphatic system and the fascia. But with the gut in particular, we call it the second brain because so much happens in there. Isn't it true that 80% of our immunity and about a lot of our lymphatic system actually lives in our gut?
Yes. Well, we have trillions of bacteria that belong to the microbiome. And as science has been moving forward, we're learning more and more and more about those benefits of what the microbiome do.
Sure.
So
Let's backtrack a little
let's
bit.
backtrack. That
Yeah, like,
story, it was just to tell you how things get offset and how people live in this constant state of stress. And then maybe they eat fast food and we're making things worse and worse and worse. Our body is designed to do that at times,
sure.
right? The
Yeah,
human
we need
body,
that.
whatever.
Yeah.
You totally need that for survival purposes. But also, the vagus nerve
Mhm.
communicates. You would think it's telling the gut to do things, but
Isn't that the only nerve that actually comes out
right.
from the brain itself,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
All of the others, cranial nerves and
Are
stuff
all
like
going
that.
to different
Right.
areas. So, in its communication with the gut, 80% of the fiber tracks basically are going from gut to brain,
Mhm.
whereas 20% is only going down from brain to gut. And I think it's kind of interesting to understand that
Absolutely.
that second brain is right there in the gut, just sending signals back up to our brain.
When you say the gut, what physical anatomy is that? I know it's got to include the intestines, the stomach,
I always just basically
pancreas,
say
liver.
from the back of your throat all the way to your anus.
Okay.
I'm just
Okay.
saying, 'cause
Right.
all of that plays a role. There's so much in there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because everything that we eat or drink or consume is got to go through the process of
Hmm.
clearing out, digesting, clearing out,
Pulling nutrients
pulling
in,
nutrients in and
putting
out.
waste in. As your
Right.
kidneys filter up waste, things are put back into the stool to make your stool push all the way down.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll talk about the lymphatic system because there's a lot that goes into that in a few moments because there are a lot of things that we can do when our gut is off balance or not as healthy as it should. So, coming back to the microbiome, the gut is our second brain.
Mhm.
What are some things that could help some of our listeners understand when their microbiome is not working properly or sluggish or
Well,
maybe a little unhealthy?
this is interesting is we don't listen to the gut until it's screaming, but there are
Mhm.
so many other things that can take place before it's freaking out,
Sure.
before you're having that abdominal pain that pushes you to go see a provider. You could have a mild headache. You could have, like some pain, some joint pains. And so there's all different ways that it's communicating with us. And we need to stop and listen to our body.
Because there's so many little receptors in the gut that can start to signal out to other areas of the
Hmm.
body that will indicate something is not right. And
It's
I'll
not
say
right.
that
Yeah.
lightly, but
So when we talk about gut inflammation, there's a lot of different things happening. So obviously the diet is a huge, huge, huge player. And I just I did some reading, obviously.
Mhm.
And I was reading about what consists of a healthy microbiome. So we have these trillions of cells all in there, all working together and all keeping this lovely, beautiful balance. But people with the most healthy microbiome are eating a variety of how many fruits and vegetables?
30,
30
30
fruits and
different.
vegetables, a variety.
Yeah.
And I sat down and I counted from what I had last week because I think of myself as fairly healthy. I mean, I have my moments, don't get me wrong, but I got 21
Now,
of a
is that in a
variety.
day?
No, 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 no. That's from a week. It's a
Oh, week.
7-day period.
Okay. How many did I
So
send you? I sent her a text last night of what I made, and I made a red curry, and I told her everything that was in it. There was like maybe 8 or so.
that's
I was
pretty
really
great.
proud of
That's great. And
myself
you can get a lot in a
in one meal.
smoothie. You can really pack some stuff in that
Yeah.
salad. But what do you think when you talk about, so that's a variety of fruits and vegetables, and some of that those play into a role of like flax and legumes. But what do you think when you, well, first let's start with the food pyramid, the guidelines right now, which are different. I'm not going to say anything about them,
Mhm.
but for fruits, the daily serving recommendation is 2 to 3, and for vegetables is about 3. How many Americans do you think meet that daily requirement?
I don't think many, especially with
15%.
the keto diet out there and the high protein diet out there. And where I'm not judging, you do what I feel is right
Mhm.
for you. However, I do believe that, especially from a disease and a gut health perspective, I believe we need fruits and vegetables and
Mhm.
legumes. So, and not everybody is gonna agree with that, and that's fine, right?
Mhm.
Again, you do what you feel is right for you, but I think from a disease, trying to eliminate
Mhm.
disease from occurring in your body, I do believe that we do need some fruits and vegetables to be able to.
And there's so many good things. There's polyphenols. I love those. Those are
Mhm.
in your wine or your chocolate. But it's also in nuts and seeds and olive oil. And those polyphenols are linked to lower inflammation rates, as well as they have some. anti-cancer benefits too.
Mhm.
So if you avoid a lot of those, you're missing some of those great things.
Sure. And even think about cruciferous vegetables, right? With some of the sulforaphane in
Hmm.
the broccoli and
Yeah,
the
so good.
cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and stuff like that. Those are, super helpful for you as well and helpful for your gut. So coming back to, we should have a variety, multiple different kinds of foods, fruits, vegetables, legumes, about 30 in a week's span. So that I feel is super helpful
Yeah, it's a
information.
little overwhelming. So
Sure.
if the average American, the main vegetable they eat is a potato.
Mhm.
So if
Which I
that's your
love
vegetable,
potatoes,
don't get me
but
wrong,
yeah, but
love
it's
French
starch.
fries.
Yeah, yeah.
But if that's the one vegetable you're getting in every week, you need to just try it. And I'm not going to say go out and eat a variety of 30 because you're probably going to spend a few days on the toilet.
Sure. Yeah, your body's not used to it, right?
Right.
It's like,
And then you're
"Whoa,
going to
whoa,
say,
whoa."
Marie and Crissy are crazy. I'm not listening to the podcast anymore. I can start pooping. But you can slowly implement, this week, just say, I am going to, like I've said this in the past, just try one new recipe and I'm going to throw in some artichokes. Like I have them frozen. I don't even have to cut them and steam them and salt them. It's a process, fresh artichokes.
Sure.
So just add something indifferent. Roast some vegetables that you throw on your tacos.
Yeah, yeah. Again,
Some
I think
changes.
that we're seeing the recurring theme in our episodes of do what you can, small steps. Don't think you have to change tomorrow or yesterday, right? Just
Right.
try to do small little things. And the diet is definitely one that we could really, really help with that gut microbiome.
Absolutely. So before you go to like a functional medicine doctor and you pay, and there's going to be varieties of functional medicine doctors. But there's so much that you can do before you run the $1,000 test and the $5,000 worth of supplements. Just look at your diet because I'm guaranteed most people that practice functional medicine are going to tell you, let's start an elimination diet and let's cut certain things out of your diet because you can figure out all the things about your body just that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So I think that they're also kind of talking about the diet. I think most people can understand that diet is very important when it comes to their gut health
Hmm.
because if you experience any type of um, digestive issues or diseases, you're running to the bathroom when you eat certain things,
Hmm.
right? Or your stomach is gurgly, or you may feel gassier or belch more, or right?
And those are the ones that you can correlate directly to the stomach. Like
Yeah.
eczema, you're going to think
Oh,
something
yeah.
else
Right.
that can totally be related to diet and inflammation of the gut.
Right, right.
Hmm.
And, also eating slower, right?
Oh, yeah. You can
That
always brush
also
right in your
exactly.
car.
Yeah, but even if from an energetic standpoint, slowing down and eating and feeling really, connected to the food that we're eating helps to nourish us
Mhm.
more, right? So slowing down, sitting down and eating, conversating.
What's on you love about
Yeah.
a friend and just really enjoying that meal and enjoying the time that you're having with others.
One other thing that I like to do first things in the morning, and we discussed this, but before my coffee, I always drink a cup of warm or hot water
Mhm.
before drinking my coffee or whatever it else is I'm drinking. Now, I have heard multiple people say add a lemon in it, add apple
It's good
cider
for the liver.
vinegar or
Mhm.
turmeric, right? You can add whatever you want to it, but the this is very big in the Ayurvedic world, but drinking that warm water before anything else first thing in the morning, number one, helps to clear your digestive tract for what's going to come later that day. But it also it doesn't shock the body as a coffee does
Right.
or anything else that you're going to first put into your body.
Like a
So
gentle wake up to your bowels from
yeah,
fasting all night long.
right,
Mhm.
exactly, exactly. And so let's come back to what are some other symptoms that people could experience. I know obviously the bloating, the gassiness,
Headaches are big with
headaches.
gut inflammation. You might just have some off lab markers.
Mm,
Like your CSR could be elevated.
okay.
Your inflammatory.
Yes.
Inflammatory.
Inflammatory. Inflammatory.
Inflammatory. That's
We
my
make up
British
words.
husband coming at me.
But yeah, like inflammation is really big. You may experience hormonal shifts
Right.
too, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
does the gut well, I guess there's so many areas of
So
the gut. What hormones does it
It
either.
helps regulate. So
Okay.
if you have an inflamed, so let's just talk about the gut, right? You have these beautiful cells, and I'm not going to talk about the names of the cells, but they're lining your gut, right? And they're tightly together. And when you, let's just say you're going to go to McDonald's and eat a bunch of sugar. Let's say if you're very, very healthy, a lot of that's not going to irritate it because that might be once in a while. You're
Right.
eating mostly a whole food diet, right? But if you're constantly eating that, eventually it gets inflamed. Just like if I just sit here, Chrissy, and
Hmm.
scratch you over and over and over and over, yeah, right? You're going to get inflamed. You're going to start bleeding. It's going to be gross. And that's what happens to your gut when you're not treating it kindly. And that's not just through food. That's
Hmm.
that continuous chronic stress,
Yeah.
right? Because we're releasing all this cortisol and those bad hormones or, chemicals,
Sluggish lymphatic system.
bad sleep,
Hmm.
anxiety, and you get back into this loop of continuousness, and we're constantly inflaming the gut. So what happens to those beautiful tight cells that are protecting us from a lot of different chemicals is they start to separate.
And isn't that leaky gut?
And that's leaky gut
Yeah.
because now things that can get through right into your body, and then your body doesn't know what to do with it.
Sure. Goes into your bloodstream.
Like
And then,
glyphosate can
mhm.
just be sucked up by a cell, and then you have a forever chemical stuck in your cell. How the heck do you get it out?
Right, right. So if we're okay,
Oh, we're okay.
I wanna
Talk
go
about healthy
to,
stuff, or
yeah, I wanna
good
go to,
stuff.
yeah.
So our gut makes a lot of different things. It makes melatonin, which helps us with sleep, but not in the gut, interestingly.
Mhm.
The melatonin that helps us with sleep is released from the brain. But in the gut, melatonin and serotonin, 90% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut, help with
Which is
motility.
surprising.
It helps with inflammation of the gut, and it helps everything move. Now, if everything's in balance, those aren't going to happen. But also, when we eat different foods, we get tryptophan. When you think about Thanksgiving, you're eating a turkey, and
Mhm.
everyone's like, "Oh, it's the tryptophan that makes you tired." That's totally a myth. It's actually the big amount of food you've been eating.
Ah, okay.
But
Alright.
tryptophan is in turkey, it's in tofu, it's in all sorts of nuts and eggs and cheeses. That's trying to get some other. It's in beans and legumes as
Mhm.
well. And that has a lot of anti-inflammatory. It helps coat and protect the gut. It also helps with insulin control and blood sugar control.
Mm.
And when the tryptophan passes through a nice, healthier gut and goes into the body, go through the blood-brain barrier, right?
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
converts through a couple different processes and turns into serotonin.
Mm.
So I think that with the large amounts of anxiety and depression in this country, I think it is linked to gut
Sure.
health.
Sure.
The more that I read about it,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and also with neurological diseases too, that
Parkinson's,
the lymphatic system of
Alzheimer's.
the brain, right? So I do want to talk a little bit about the lymphatic system because I think that it's really, really tied to our immune system and to our gut health. And I say this because our lymphatic system is the clearing system, right? So in our body, we have all of these vessels and capillaries and ducts and nodes that are pulling from cells, pulling excess waste and things that our body doesn't need. So it's almost like it's absorbing it into the lymphatic system and then moving its way up to eventually to the subclavian veins, which is just above the clavicle bones. And it's draining our whole body from our toes to our head, right?
Hmm.
But in the gut in particular, so when we're thinking about our lower body from our hips down, how do we get the lymph fluid from our toes, our ankles? Think about when you are standing on your feet for a long time or flying, your ankles tend to get a little bit more swollen. So all
Hmm.
that fluid, that pressure making its way down.
Right.
How do we make it up, and where does it go? Well, by moving, walking. We are our body's
Rebounding.
comfort, rebounding, putting
Hmm.
your legs up the wall. That is one of my favorite ones to tell all of my clients to do. The
Hmm.
moment they're traveling, when you get to the hotel, lay down and put your legs up the wall to
That's a good
reverse
one. I
that.
usually wear the compression stuff.
Yeah,
That's a good old lady.
compression stockings too. Yeah,
It works.
yeah, for sure. But all of that lymph fluid from your lower body is making its way, and it's going to make its way up into the inguinal nodes, which are right in the groin.
Hmm.
And then moving, right, is going to pump that up to kind of right around your belly and your gut. And there's specific tracks like through the cisterna and then into the thoracic duct that it's making its way up the body and then coming back into the the subclavian veins.
Hmm.
That's going to then take it through the process of the blood and take what it
Cleaning it
needs.
all
And
up,
then,
bring it out,
yeah,
stool the urine.
exactly.
Or
Well,
sweat.
when it makes its way to the to the gut region, it's taking um, some of the excess endothelial. Is that the
It could
right?
be the endothelium.
Yeah.
You're
Um,
more of a lymphatic specialist than me,
I
honestly.
think there's these nerve endings there too. And so it's just taking some of that excess. So imagine all that your gut is doing. It's working hard to clear everything out, to process things, to digest. And some of the excess that the body needs to clear out also needs to go through some of like the excess hormones and the excess cells and the
Mhm,
proteins and the fats.
mhm.
So then the body kind of takes back what it needs and has it go through the system and then, through your pee, poop, sweat.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So it's very, very much tied to because there's also a lot of lymph nodes that are actually deep in our gut too.
Right. I know when we do assessments on patients, we have all these different areas where feeling
Yeah.
and the lower and the stomach and the groin. And if any of you have been sick or have a sore throat, what do you do when you go to the doctor? They're going to feel on here, all these lymph nodes.
They're going to feel for your lymph nodes because it's tied to your immune system
And
too.
they will get swollen. If you're more in tune with your body, if
Yeah.
you get sick, they will get swollen. And they're doing their job. So don't panic.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But, some things that we can do obviously for the gut health, the immune health, the lymphatic health
Hmm.
is obviously we talked about the diet and eating slow. We'll come back to a couple of the other things that are kind of connected to that, staying within the lymphatic system and moving. Breath work. Breath work
It's
is
huge.
huge.
Huge for so many different things.
So many things.
Stress.
But the main one when we talk about the gut and all of that lymph fluid that's down below, when we take deep belly breaths and we start to really take those deep diaphragmatic breaths, it's almost like taking all of that excess through the lymphatic system and pumping it back up to the clavicles. So that deep belly breathing is helping the gut and helping that lymphatic system
Mhm.
in the gut to move and to become less sluggish, right? When we don't move our bodies at all, everything just sits there. So you can only imagine the excess. And then if you're eating like, fast food every day and all of the unhealthy
Sugar
things
drinks.
and yeah, sugary drinks and the caffeinated drinks, and then you're not moving, just stays there. It's like, where is it going to go?
Right. Right. And I talked about last time about the impact of the mind and thinking of your body working. It'd be interesting. There's probably a study out there. Maybe we'll look this week
Hmm.
about when you're doing that deep belly breathing, if you can focus on your lymphatic system and really think about pushing
Yeah.
the toxins out and like really cleaning your body.
Yeah.
The power of the mind is a beautiful thing.
We'll do a whole episode on the lymphatic system too, because I think that's a system that is fairly new in how important and valuable it is
Mhm.
within the last like probably 15 years in medical world and in science. I think they're realizing more and more how important our lymphatic system is. And so we'll do another episode talking even more about that. But for now, I think just understanding that moving your body is really, really good for your lymphatic and gut health and
Mhm.
immuno health. And then also the deep breathing. And we'll talk about maybe some yoga poses that you could do too. But that, even with the deep breaths, that's also helping to manage that daily stress,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
And relieve some of that anxiety in the body and help with that aspect of our gut health.
And I wanted to bring another one of my favorite things is the social aspect, being with family and friends and people you love. We went to lunch yesterday. It was
Hmm.
wonderful. When you are laughing and you're having a good time and you're enjoying life and you're with others and you're being social, you're also releasing wonderful things. And it just
Yeah.
bathes your gut with good stuff,
Yeah.
dopamine, all that stuff that you love. And while that's happening, it's repairing.
Yeah.
So think about that too.
Even just hugging, right? So being around people and hugging other people,
Hmm.
that is, I think it's serotonin or dopamine. I can't remember which one, but it ignites one of the hormones,
Happy hormones.
happy hormones,
Right.
right? That's all we really need to know. It's immediately making people feel better, right? Smiling, hugging, being surrounded by people is really huge in helping our bodies just work naturally and stay
Hmm.
feeling good.
And I want to remind everybody that's listening, our body is so amazing. You can
Mhm.
absolutely repair it one step at a time. It's
Yeah,
not the end.
right, right,
Especially like
exactly.
that. I forget the exact like that line. It's constantly changing. Let's just say 4 weeks. but
Okay.
you have a whole new gut if it's
Yeah.
constantly changing and cells are turning over.
Yeah. So one thing that I find is interesting. So I'm have you ever been in a situation where you get butterflies in your stomach
Yeah.
and you feel nervous whether you're going to do a presentation or
Yep.
have to have a very difficult conversation with a friend or something like that?
Mhm.
Okay. So when we have those butterflies and those feelings in our stomach, that's actually our gut brain saying like, "Hey, you're not as confident as you think you are right now, or you're not standing in your confidence and in your power and your self-worth like you should," right?
Mhm.
You're feeling less than. And the same thing of having a any type of nervous situation, right? We're almost giving our power away. And when I think about that in the yoga world, it's all energy. And in yoga, we have I mentioned them before, but chakras, which are little energy wheels in our bodies. We're made up of energy. We're 99.9999999 energy, right?
And some water.
Yeah, a lot of water, right? And then we have these energy centers, and there's the 7 major ones, from the root of your tailbone to the crown of your head.
Mhm.
And there's one in particular called the solar plexus, which is our technically 3rd one in that alignment. And when our solar plexus is in alignment, we feel confident, we feel powerful, we know our worth, we
Mhm.
feel very, um it's our center of power, right? But when it's out of alignment, we give our power to maybe other people, or we feel overly power and feel overly confident or better than somebody else, right? There's probably been
Mhm.
times where there's like a line, right? There's right in the middle where we want our us to be, and that is that moment of feeling
Right.
I feel secure, I feel strong, I know my worth, I know what I'm talking about, I feel grounded, I'm good. But then on one aspect of it is oh my God, they're so much better than me. What if I mess up? Oh, right? And all of that doubt.
Well, and I have something to say. What about those people that just suck you
Yeah.
dry?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's those people, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I know I'm good enough, but this person is making me feel this way, and they're stealing my energy."
Well,
I really
that's
believe in that.
for
They just want
sure.
me to go to bed.
That's you need to protect your energy in those situations because
Right.
there are those people out there. And maybe that's another episode too, where we
Right.
really talk about
Excited
energy
to
and
talk
the
about.
chakras. But I bring this one up because this one is tied to our power. And this one's specifically tied to our gut.
Mm.
And when we have digestive issues, or a lot of those butterflies where we are feeling less than and nervous and all of these things, that could be a representation also that your energy in that area is also a little out of balance. And sometimes in certain people's mindsets, people who are really big in the energy world, they're going to say that the energy is what then starts the process of the actual disease or the symptoms. It starts
Yeah.
in the energy. So, it's which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
So now, what do you think about like a woman's intuition?
Woman's intuition, nothing should be stronger.
Do you think that's gut?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Between gut and also womb.
Mm.
So I actually did a beautiful event. I don't want to call it a workshop. It was an experience with an amazing group of women here locally. And we actually talked about 7
The seven
senses,
sense.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
seven
So
sense.
touch, taste, feel, see, hear. What am I missing?
The last one was the womb.
Well, but that's five. You said
Oh,
seven.
wait, I didn't hear what you said.
Okay, we got touch,
Touch. Okay. I got to take, I guess,
taste,
uh huh.
see, hear.
Smell
Oh,
and
smell.
taste.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go.
Smell is very much
Six
tied to
senses.
memories, yes. And then the womb, right? Kind of connecting to your womb space.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this is more so for women. You don't have to have children to be able to connect to that space,
Hmm.
right? And
Right.
even men, I don't think so either, because we all came from not necessarily, you weren't born necessarily maybe from a womb if you were
No, I'm gonna say women are
There's
so much better at this.
but that's a very cool another way to look at it is that the
Yeah.
womb space could also be your intuition.
Love it.
Yeah, yeah. So not to derail from that too much, but again, that's gut health can also be tied to some of the energy too. So if you are one who is really into your own energy, you can kind of feel into your third chakra, which is just above your belly button, and maybe even the one below your sacral chakra a little bit too, because that's one of pleasure and joy and creativity and flow and movement. So they could work together. But in particular, the third chakra, the solar plexus, is geared around kind of like digestive issues and worth and our center of self will and power. So, kind of check in if you're feeling off and you're feeling really lacking in your own confidence or not really feeling worthy of what you have or what's coming. Check in with your solar plexus and ask, where am I giving my power away? Or
Mhm.
where am I feeling I'm better than anybody else? Because that's also a huge one. Some of those people who are super cocky and feel like they're way better than everybody else and then make you feel like you're not
Yeah.
enough, right?
Mhm.
Even those people, they have an over excessive
Right.
solar
I'll be at
plexus.
the other side of the room. What about you? Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah, 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 exactly. And protecting your own
Like, what do
energy.
you know what?
Yeah. Uh,
So
so yeah.
we were at lunch yesterday, and our friend Heather asked us a question about what we feel about everything being loaded with prebiotics
Mhm.
or postbiotics. Probiotics.
Yeah, all the drinks and they're in yogurts
It's like a
now and
soda drink now.
right,
Yeah, I mean,
right.
so lactobacillus, and there are things that are naturally in the fermentation process. So let's break it down real quick.
Mhm.
So we have our prebiotics. That is what we're feeding our bacteria in our body to keep them healthy.
The
So
good bacteria,
the
right?
good
Yeah,
bacteria, right?
yeah,
One can be feeding the bad bacteria too, depends on the
right.
imbalances. But let's just say you're feeding your good bacteria. So that's going to be all your green leafy vegetables, all your fiber driven food,
Mhm.
right? Because the fiber in those foods, your beans, legumes, your kales, your broccolis, then gets fermented by the bacteria in your stomach,
Okay.
right? And then it produces post.
Mm.
So pre, pro, and post. Pro are the living things. So if you need to add to your probiotics, like say you're taking an antibiotic, it's going to wipe them all out. Not
Right.
all of them. That's going to be either a tablet, but you can get it in kimchi. Anything fermented, sauerkraut,
Sauerkraut. Mhm.
kefir,
Mhm.
tempeh,
Tempeh?
tempeh,
Is that it?
yogurt. The
Yeah.
pronunciation is
Oh, that might be that I don't
no,
think.
I think it is a fermented bean.
Okay. Yeah, it's
So
soy.
you're right,
Tempeh is
soy.
soy, yeah.
So if you need to add to
Just make
your
sure
probiotics,
any
here's
soy, just make sure it's non-GMO, organic soy.
absolutely.
Yeah. Even your
I have something
edamame.
else to say about that. Did you see the bread thing on the news?
Mm-mm.
Oh, everybody in Florida read about the bread. It has glyphosate on it. It was on the news yesterday. It
Oh.
lists all the different brands. Like it's really bad. Anyways, so and that's gonna kill you. So you're pre, you're feeding it. So think of all those beautiful rainbow foods. You're pro. That's the bacteria in your belly. You can also supplement with, you can take a supplement if needed. I would be cautious if you're not having any symptoms because if you could just, you could be feeding the bad bacteria as well.
Interesting.
And then your post is what you're making
Mhm.
the short chain fatty acids, all those good things that help nourish and balance, and also biosalts and stuff like that that are needed for digestion.
Interesting. So we're
Yeah, it's
constantly learning
cool.
stuff. It is very cool. Again, the body is so cool. And I love our conversations because it really is where science meets soul, right? Is understanding the
Absolutely.
body from all different
A
levels, the
whole lot of
physical
concepts.
body, the energy, the, emotional state. Because again, if you feel like shit, then guess what? So do you like, you're going to be sluggish and you're going to be agitated or you might be overly emotional, right? So it's all tied together.
Right. And
Everything comes together.
we're in a good time now because people are waking up and realizing that,
I
and they're
agree.
questioning things and saying
Yeah.
there's more to just the pill,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
not fixing me.
Right, exactly. We have to show up for ourselves
Mhm.
and we have to learn for ourselves. And what we learn, it has to feel alignment in what we're doing, right? Not everything is good for everybody, but what's right for you and
Mhm.
understanding that more and more.
Absolutely.
And so this is kind of fun. So talking about that inner voice, I talk a lot about the intuition, right? That intuition is going to be more like also the third eye, the gut health, and the womb space.
Mhm.
But where we hear it It may start at the third eye, but where we hear it is coming to the
Mhm, mhm,
is that solar plexus,
mhm.
right? But a lot of times people don't listen to that inner voice.
Mhm.
And we go and ask everybody else, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And have you ever had that situation where you're like, oh, man, I knew that. I should have just listened to my
Mhm.
gut.
Right.
Hello, hello. Listen to your gut, right?
Yes.
That instinct decision or answer or whatever is going to be probably what you need to do. It's
Right.
just our mind starts to come over and the ego and everything else and our brain wants to keep us safe. So it's like, no, don't do that.
Mhm.
So when that first thought comes in and if you feel it in your gut, like, oh my God, I just felt that. That's exactly what we're meaning
Yeah.
by the gut brain and that gut voice.
Yeah. So
Listen to it.
everybody take time to slow down in this crazy world
Yes.
and
Yes.
start to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Another thing that happened yesterday as we wrap this up is I love to end with a question, right? I
Mhm.
do love that. But we let Heather pick the question.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to send us a message out there listening, start sending us your questions and we'll end with your questions and not mine
Yeah.
or Chrissy's.
Yeah. Absolutely. We wanna hear from you for sure.
So Heather wanted to know what 5 things that people could do now to start making that change with their gut intuition,
Mhm.
their gut brain access.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's so many things that we
There's so
can
many.
do, but let's I don't wanna say dumb it down. Let's make it simple, right?
You like simple.
I think that, changing one thing in your diet, incorporating maybe one more vegetable or one more
Absolutely.
fruit or one
Increasing a
more
little fiber.
bean, and slowing down and eating, increasing the fiber, right, if you
Mm-hmm.
can do that, drinking more water,
Water.
and maybe even putting a little bit of Celtic salt or Himalayan salt in your water
Mm.
for electrolytes or because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many electrolytes out there, but there's so much sugar in them,
There
in a lot
is.
of them. I haven't found one yet that I'm like, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
So even right now, I have just a little bit of Himalayan salt in my
Mm.
water.
That's
Um,
fair.
as far as like managing, because I think managing stress should be one, and then moving should be one also.
Mm-hmm.
And in the managing stress, that could be taking 3 minutes to close your eyes and do a little mini meditation.
Mm-hmm.
That could be getting out in nature. That could be,
Sometimes I just go sit in the chair and face the sun as my eyes close.
that's it. It's so simple, right? But
It
people
really
want to say, I
helps.
don't have time. I'm going to call bullshit every time.
Who needs
You
me
have
to?
3 minutes. You have three
Mhm.
minutes, right? So doing some type of daily stress relieving type of things, journaling, obviously, I'll always go to as well. But in the movement department, obviously, there's a lot of yoga poses that would be beautiful for it. Any type of twisting, as long as it's okay in your body and you're twisting from the right place and you're not
Mhm.
forcing, twisting would be good. Child's pose with taking your hands to fists, kind of like in between your hips and your ribs, and then lowering down into child's pose. So, kind of like right around the belly region is
Mm.
very calming and
Move our neck,
soothing. Yeah,
'cause the
move your
neck gets
neck.
so tensed on the day.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Extended puppy, child's pose is
There you
also
go.
really good. So I think if we were to take the five, obviously the diet, and that's going to include fiber and hydration,
Mhm.
um, the managing stress,
Mhm.
the moving our body,
Drinking more water.
drinking more water, yoga, breath work. What
Just
else?
start there.
Maybe that was
I
not
love
five.
it.
Maybe it
Anything
was
no,
five. I don't know. Here we are.
that's right.
Exactly. And smiling and being
Smiling
with
is
your
good for
friends and
you.
hugging,
Yeah. Start a
right?
book club.
Yeah. Well, I think that we gave everybody a good amount. I think
Yeah.
this will be a recurring type of topic. We'll come back to more and more because obviously too the medical world and the science world and we're all learning more and more and more about
Right.
our bodies
Mhm.
and specific systems in our bodies that are becoming more and more important. So these aren't these one and done type of topics. So
No,
we'll come
no,
back
no.
to them and
And we are gonna be having one of my friends that I met in London at the functional medicine course. She is an amazing physician that is in Amsterdam. Why can't I talk today? She's in Amsterdam, and I'm so excited that we're gonna have her on the show soon and get to interview her because her
Yeah.
entire practice is gut health, and it's amazing.
And I mean, it's all the rage right now. So many people are
Yeah, she's
talking about
doing it, and
it.
she's fixing it, and she's healing people, and it's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So knowledge is power, and this is a great first start. We hope that you gain some type of insights and some type of
Small
inspiration to
changes are the
start
best changes.
making those
Mhm.
small changes in your world. So, as always, please feel free to leave us comments, leave us or DM us either way
Questions.
some of those questions, or if you have any questions, concerns, ahas, whatever comes up for you, we want to hear from you. So
Absolutely.
please
Mhm.
reach out to us. And I guess until next time, my
Alright,
friends. All
guys.
right.
See
Until next
ya.
time. Bye,
Bye.
guys.